How Women Rise. Break the 12 Habits Holding You Back from Your Next Raise, Promotion, or Job. By Sally Helgesen and Marshall Goldsmith. Picture Ellen, a brilliant software engineer at a thriving Silicon Valley company. She's not just technically talented. She's the beating heart of her team. Everyone comes to her with problems, and she solves them before they escalate. She's the person who connects people and smooths things over. Her boss constantly mentions how well their unit is running, and she takes quiet pride in being that glue that holds everything together, believing her hard work and bridge building are her secret weapons. Then the annual performance review arrives. Her boss praises her work but then drops a bomb that makes her stomach sink. He tells her she needs to get better known in the organization, have more of a presence, and more actively promote what our division is doing. Ellen feels like she's been punched in the gut. The very thing she thought was her superpower, being connected, is apparently where she's falling short. How could he miss all those times she helped colleagues? What about that careful web of relationships she'd built? For weeks, she walks around feeling invisible, undervalued, and completely stuck. Then one day it hits her like lightning. Her boss didn't refuse to see her contributions. He couldn't see them. She had never actually told him about them. She never mentioned the dozens of people she helped each week, or quantified her role as the team's connector. She just assumed he'd notice. Deep down, she believed great work should speak for itself. This single story captures the essence of the book we're diving into today, How Women Rise, by Sally Helgesen and Marshall Goldsmith. This isn't your typical business book filled with dry corporate speak. It's a fascinating exploration of a powerful paradox. The very habits that help talented, hardworking women succeed early in their careers often become the invisible chains that keep them from reaching the top. The authors bring serious credentials to this conversation. Sally Helgesen is a world-renowned expert on women's leadership, and Marshall Goldsmith is one of the planet's most sought-after executive coaches. Together, they've spent decades working with leaders and noticed something intriguing. The classic advice given to male executives, stop winning every argument, stop adding your 2 cents to everything, often completely missed the mark with their female clients. Women faced different challenges. Instead of hogging too much credit, they often refused to claim any. Instead of needing to always be right, they were trapped by the need to be perfect or make everyone happy. By the end of our journey today, you'll understand these 12 powerful, often invisible habits. But more importantly, you'll see how these habits are actually the shadow side of incredible strengths. You'll walk away with fresh eyes to view your own career, armed with the wisdom to recognize what's helping you and what you might need to release to truly soar. Have you ever had that maddening feeling where you're doing everything right but you're still not moving forward? You work hard, deliver excellent results, you're the ultimate team player, yet somehow you feel stuck. It's deeply frustrating, making you question whether you've got what it takes. The authors start with a revolutionary idea from Marshall Goldsmith's classic book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. The concept is simple but mind-blowing. The skills and behaviors that make you successful at one level rarely carry you to the next. But Helgesen and Goldsmith take this further. For women, they argue, this challenge is uniquely complicated. The workplace was built by and for men over centuries. While things are changing, many behaviors women get praised for, being collaborative, thorough, and supportive, can become invisible barriers that block their advancement. This isn't about blaming women, not even close. The book acknowledges that external barriers, from old boys' clubs to unconscious bias, are absolutely real. However, the authors focus on what we can actually control, our own behaviors. They believe that by identifying and adjusting these habits, we can clear our own path, regardless of what obstacles surround us. Let's walk through the core habits they identified, not in a rigid checklist, but by exploring the deeper patterns they reveal about how we work, communicate, and see ourselves. The visibility problem, hiding in plain sight. The first major theme is what I call the visibility problem. It's the frustrating paradox of doing incredible work while remaining virtually invisible to the people deciding your future. This is Ellen's world, captured in 2 foundational habits. Habit 1. Reluctance to claim your achievements. Think about the last time you were part of a successful team project. When someone praised it, what was your instinct? For many women, the automatic response is to deflect credit. We say, "Oh, it was really a team effort," or immediately praise a colleague's contribution. This comes from a genuinely good place. Modesty, generosity, and wanting to be a solid team player. These are real strengths. But here's where it gets tricky. The book shares the story of Amy, who ran an arts foundation and co-chaired a huge charity event with a guy named Mitch. When a reporter called her for an interview, she spent the entire conversation gushing about Mitch and the team. When the article came out, she was floored. Mitch had also been interviewed, and he talked exclusively about his role, his vision, and his organization. Since Amy had given him all the credit too, he looked like the sole mastermind behind the event, while she was barely mentioned. She felt betrayed, thinking he was completely self-centered. But later, when she asked him about it, Mitch said it never crossed his mind that Amy wouldn't talk about herself. He assumed she understood how the game worked. You get a platform, you use it to showcase the value you bring. This reluctance to use the word "I" can seriously damage your career. It's not about becoming obnoxious or insufferable, which is what many women fear. There's a huge, graceful middle ground between shameless self-promotion and making yourself invisible. It's simply stating your role in a success, matter-of-factly. The authors suggest a beautifully simple starting point. When someone praises your work, just say thank you. No deflecting, no buts. Just accept it. This tiny change can rewire how you see your own value. This flows directly into the second habit in this cluster. Habit 2. Expecting others to spontaneously notice and reward your contributions. This is the flip side of the same coin. It's believing that if you just keep your head down and do excellent work, someone will eventually tap you on the shoulder and hand you that well-deserved promotion. It's a fairy tale we tell ourselves, but the modern workplace is way too busy and chaotic for that to be reliable. The book shares Maureen's powerful story. She was a lawyer at a top firm who, despite stellar performance, watched male colleagues get promoted to partner, while she got passed over repeatedly. Finally, feeling fed up and undervalued, she told her boss she was looking elsewhere. His response shocked her. He asked, "Would you consider staying if you were made partner?" Then he added, "I don't think the partnership committee realized you were set on it." Maureen was stunned. How could they not know? Didn't her years of excellent work scream her ambition? It was only years later, when she sat on the partnership committee herself, that she got it. She watched as a male candidate was chosen over an equally qualified woman. The reason? The litigation head said about the man, "This guy has been talking about making partner since day one. If we don't give it to him now, I guarantee we'll lose him." About the woman, he said, "She's never mentioned it. I wouldn't expect her to leave if she weren't chosen this year." The lesson was brutal but crystal clear. The organization interpreted the man's vocal ambition as commitment, while they read the woman's quiet excellence as contentment. Her hard work, instead of showing she wanted to rise, signaled that she was perfectly happy where she was. The solution? You have to take ownership of your own visibility. The authors share a fantastic technique from top executive Dong Lao, who recommends creating an elevator speech. It's short, clear, and powerful. It says what you do now, what you want to do next, and why you're qualified to do it. It's not bragging. It's strategic communication that prepares you for those chance encounters with senior leaders that can change everything. You need to let people know where you want to go. Otherwise, they'll happily leave you exactly where you are. The good girl trap, when strengths become obstacles. The next cluster of habits is perhaps the toughest to overcome, because they're deeply tied to what it means to be a good person, especially as a woman. These are behaviors we get praised for from childhood, but they can become career traps. Habit 7. The perfection trap. This is believing that you'll succeed if you do your job perfectly and never mess up. It's that voice in your head that makes you obsess over a tiny mistake in a presentation or an awkward moment in a meeting. Women, the authors note, tend to be much harder on themselves than men. While a guy might say, "Oops, I messed up." Moving on, a woman is more likely to spiral into self-blame and regret. This perfectionism has several dangerous side effects. First, it keeps you focused on tiny details, preventing you from seeing the bigger strategic picture, essential for leadership. Second, it makes you terrified of taking risks. If you're petrified of making mistakes, you'll never take the bold leaps that build great careers. Third, it can turn you into a micromanager. If you hold yourself to impossible standards, you'll probably do the same to your team, which crushes creativity and creates a culture of fear. The book tells Vera's cautionary tale. She was brilliant and a natural candidate for CEO of her company, but the feedback from colleagues was consistent. They found her over-controlling and judgmental because she was so afraid of failure. Her perfectionism, which had powered her rise, ultimately became why she was passed over for the top job. The board felt she lacked the vision and willingness to take calculated risks that leadership demands. The antidote to perfectionism isn't sloppiness. It's learning to prioritize, delegate, and accept that good enough often truly is good enough. Habit 8. The disease to please. If perfectionism is about getting everything right, the disease to please is about making everyone happy. It's the compulsion to be thoughtful, nice, and accommodating in every situation. It's what makes you say yes to requests that you know will drain your time and energy for little payoff. We see this in Miranda's story, a young lawyer who found herself stretched impossibly thin. She'd volunteered for multiple firm committees, including one that was a thankless time sink. When she finally confessed to the colleague who'd recommended her that she needed to step back, he replied casually, "Oh, I was way too busy to do it. And you seemed like someone who would basically say yes." That moment stung. Her desire to be helpful had turned her into a target for others to dump their unwanted work. The disease to please cripples your ability to make clear decisions because you're always trying to find consensus that won't upset anyone. It robs you of authority because you fear disappointing people. Overcoming this isn't about becoming cold or unhelpful, it's about becoming more strategic with your yes. It's recognizing that your time and energy are your most precious resources, and you must protect them for things that truly matter to your career and well-being. It requires getting comfortable with the idea that you can be a good person who sometimes says no. Habit 3. Overvaluing expertise. This habit is perfectionism's cousin. It's believing that having the deepest knowledge and complete mastery of your current job is the surest path to success. So you pour all your energy into learning every detail, becoming the indispensable expert on your team. But here's the trap. If you become too indispensable in your current role, your boss has no incentive to promote you. You've proven you're perfect for the job you already have. The book tells Ashley's story. Her boss told her that while her name came up for a promotion, he, quote, couldn't afford to lose her in her current role. At first, she was flattered. Then she realized her mastery had become a prison. The top jobs, the authors remind us, are rarely about being the expert yourself. They're about leading and managing other people who have expertise. It requires shifting from doing the work to leading the work. This means letting go of needing to know everything and getting comfortable relying on your team, building relationships, and focusing on the big picture. The strategic blind spot, navigating the bigger game. The final cluster of habits deals with a critical transition everyone must make to reach senior leadership, shifting from being an excellent employee to being a strategic player. This is about seeing your job not just as tasks to complete, but as a stepping stone in a long-term journey. Habit 6. Putting your job before your career. This trap is born from one of women's greatest virtues, loyalty. You become so devoted to your current boss, your team, and your projects that you forget to think about what's next. You sacrifice your long-term ambitions on the altar of today's to-do list. Serena's story drives this home. She spent 11 years as a senior production assistant for a famous Emmy-winning producer. She was proud of her work and fiercely loyal to her boss, who constantly praised her. But she watched male colleagues with less experience get promoted to producer roles. She just kept waiting, assuming her boss would know when she was ready. Only when she seriously considered leaving did she realize her loyalty had blinded her. Her boss benefited every day from her staying put, so why would he push her to move on? When she finally told him she wanted to become a producer, he was immediately supportive. She had been the only one holding herself back, trapped by misplaced obligation. Your job is a platform, but your career is the journey. You have to be willing to look beyond the immediate horizon. Habit 4. Building rather than leveraging relationships. Women are often brilliant at building strong, deep, personal relationships at work. We connect, we listen, we offer support. But the authors point out a crucial distinction. There's a difference between building relationships and leveraging them. Leveraging isn't a dirty word. It doesn't mean using people in a cold, calculating way. It means understanding that professional relationships are based on mutual benefit, a give and take. It's about being comfortable asking for help, making introductions, and calling in favors, knowing you'll do the same for others. It's the win-win horse trading that men often do naturally, but that can make women uncomfortable, as if it's somehow self-serving or playing politics. If you only build relationships for personal connection, you miss out on the power of strategic networking. The authors encourage being more intentional. Who are the people who can help you achieve your goals? And just as importantly, how can you help them? It's not about abandoning authentic connection. It's about adding a layer of strategic purpose to your networking. Habit 5. Failing to enlist allies from day one. When you start a new job or project, what's your first move? For many women, especially when feeling out of their depth, the instinct is to put their head down, master all the details, and prove their competence before reaching out to people. Men, the authors observe, often do the complete opposite. Their first question is, who do I need to connect with to make this job successful? They see success as a matter of who, not just what or how. Carrie's story perfectly illustrates this trap. Promoted to head a high-stakes risk assessment unit, she felt pressure to get up to speed on complex regulations. She decided to isolate herself for 3 months to become an expert before building relationships. The result was a disaster. Her team felt she was inaccessible, and executives worried she was withholding information. The CEO eventually called her in and told her she was squandering people's trust. Her focus on expertise had blinded her to the immediate need for leadership and connection. You don't need to know everything before building alliances. In fact, reaching out for help and advice is one of the fastest ways to learn and build the support network you need to succeed. Your allies, from peers to senior sponsors, are the lifeblood of a successful career. The communication conundrum: how we diminish our power. The final set of habits is about the subtle ways we communicate, with our words, our bodies, and our thoughts, that can accidentally signal lack of confidence or authority. Habit 9. Minimizing. This is the tendency to make ourselves and our ideas smaller. Physically, it's scooting your chair aside to make more space in a meeting, or pressing your arms tight to your sides. Verbally, it's constantly using minimizing words like just, only, or a quick question, I just want to say something, or this is only a small suggestion. These words may seem polite, but they discount the importance of what you're about to say before you've even said it. And, of course, there's chronic, often pointless, apologizing. These verbal tics drain our statements of power. Habit 10. Too much. This is the flip side. It can show up as too much emotion, too much personal disclosure, or simply too many words. Women speak, on average, far more words per day than men. In a male-centric culture that often values brevity, a tendency to over-explain or provide too much backstory can be misread as lack of focus. Similarly, sharing personal vulnerabilities can be powerful for bonding between women, but in many professional settings, It can be read as lack of credibility or poor judgment. The key isn't to become robotic, but to become more disciplined and intentional in how you communicate. Habit 11. Ruminating. This is the habit of endlessly replaying mistakes and negative experiences in your mind. It's what cows do when they chew the cud. While men who cling to the past tend to blame others, women are more likely to turn the blame inward, beating themselves up for every perceived failure. This habit is toxic. It makes you feel worse, paralyzes you from taking action to fix the problem, and drains your mental energy. The authors offer a simple but powerful antidote, modeled by Marshall himself. Learn to say, "Oh well. Oh well, I messed up. Oh well, I'm not perfect. Oh well, time to move on." It's a practice of self-forgiveness that breaks the cycle of negative self-talk. Habit 12. Letting your radar distract you. Finally, we come to a fascinating concept rooted in neuroscience. Women's brains are often wired for broad-spectrum notice, a radar-like ability to pick up on a wide range of clues, from body language to emotional undercurrents. This is a genuine superpower. It's what makes women intuitive and empathic. But it has a shadow side. This radar can make it hard to filter out distractions. You're in a presentation, and instead of focusing on your message, you're obsessing over the one person in the front row who looks bored. Your attention scatters, your confidence wavers, and you lose your presence. The key isn't to turn off your radar, but to learn to manage it. The authors suggest a technique called reframing. When you notice that bored person, instead of assuming it's about you, tell yourself a different story. Maybe he had a fight with his partner this morning. Maybe he's worried about a sick parent. By reframing the narrative, you take back control of your attention and stay focused on your purpose. As we step back and look at these 12 habits, a powerful unifying theme comes into focus. This book isn't asking women to become more like men. It's not a manual for changing your personality or abandoning your strengths. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a guide to understanding how the very strengths that make you diligent, empathetic, collaborative, and conscientious can, if left unchecked, hold you back. The reluctance to claim achievements comes from humility. The disease to please is born from a genuine desire to make others happy. The perfection trap is rooted in a noble desire to deliver the highest quality work. The beauty of How Women Rise is that it honors these strengths while showing us their shadow side. It gives us permission to be ambitious without guilt, to be strategic without feeling manipulative, and to be powerful without sacrificing authenticity. So what's the most important lesson here? I believe it's the power of intentionality. Growth doesn't happen by accident. Rising in any field requires a conscious shift from being a passive passenger in your career to being an active, engaged driver. It means moving from hoping to be noticed to ensuring you are seen. If you're feeling inspired to put these ideas into practice, here are a few simple actions you can take starting today. First, start with just one thing. Don't try tackling all 12 habits at once. That's a recipe for overwhelm and failure. Read through the habits again and pick the one that resonates most deeply. The one that makes you say, "That's totally me." Maybe it's vowing to stop using the word just for a week. Or maybe it's scheduling a short, 10-minute Friday update with your boss to share your accomplishments. Small, consistent changes are far more powerful than grand, short-lived resolutions. Second, don't do it alone. One of the book's most practical pieces of advice is to enlist help. Find a trusted colleague or friend and ask them to be your accountability partner. You could say something like, "I've realized I have a habit of needlessly apologizing. Could you give me a little signal the next time you hear me do it in a meeting?" This simple act does two things. It disables your brain's autopilot by making you more aware of your behavior in the moment, and it strengthens your relationship with that colleague by showing vulnerability and trust. Finally, remember what got you here. As you work on letting go of habits that no longer serve you, never forget to celebrate the strengths that brought you to where you are today. You're not broken, and you don't need fixing. You're a talented, capable person who's simply learning to upgrade your toolkit for the next stage of your journey. Hold on to your generosity, your diligence, and your empathy. The world desperately needs leaders with those qualities. Your task is simply to channel them in ways that empower you rather than limit you. That was the book summary of How Women Rise by Sally Helgesen and Marshall Goldsmith. We've touched on the core ideas today, but I'll be honest, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found when you walk the path yourself. The true magic happens in those quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or simple phrase connects with your own experience in an unexpected way. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time and attention. If anything we've talked about today has struck a chord, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning new information. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see yourself and the path ahead. A link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to Billionaire's Bookshelf. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.